start.
Dude, that is wild. Guys, we're at Limitless Panels. I am going to introduce Andy to you. And the reason we're here in his studio shop, this is cool, by the way. This is,
Thank you.
This is cool. Guys, I'm going to show you guys around the shop. He's got everything here to make panels.
Yep.
So you're just talking to a customer from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So can you give me one of these things so they can see exactly what we're going to show them? Guys, so on boats, you'll have a panel on the dash and you'll have your buttons, and we're going to talk about that, and we're going to show you guys how he makes it from nothing.
Yeah.
So what do you think people are going to learn from this whole video?
Well, I mean, the idea is to try to show everybody that, you know, we can make a panel from a mold or from a template or from whatever they bring me all the way up to a rig panel and something ready.
And we're going to talk about rig panel because you're talking about everything on the back side of the
Correct.
panel that's already rigged.
Correct.
Electrical, which, woof, this guy has to be detail oriented. We're going to start today's video right now. Okay, what is all this stuff here? Like, this is what?
So this machine, what it does is it cuts the wire for me at a certain length.
Okay.
It'll actually, I'll program it. Hey, I want 10 wires at 12 inches, and I want you to strip one of the tips, and the machine would actually do that for me.
So you don't even have to cut it yourself.
Not anymore. No.
Wow,
So, yeah.
guys, look at this, and look how consistent it is. All right, this is what I want to show you guys. You see, this I want them to see. I think they're gonna really appreciate that. All right, guys, Limitless is gonna make a couple panels here. We're gonna film a little bit of the process. Stay tuned. Alfred Montaner here. Wait
With
for
Andy.
it. Let's go, Andy. Let's go. Let's get. I tell you, this is gonna be amazing. All right, guys. Andy, so this is where it kind of like everything originates.
This is where the magic happens.
On the computer, right?
Yep. After I get the template and I load it into the computer, I would send this render to the customer, just making sure that the names and everything is consistent to what the customer wants, that there's no misspelling, that they're aligned.
So if I wanted to put whiskey throttle instead of spreader lights, it could be.
We could go ahead and change it right then and there. We'll add it in the orientation that the customer wants it, or we usually have a way of aligning it to where it makes sense, where we would start with horn and then all the lights and then pumps, how it should be. However, customers already have an orientation. Hey, no, I want the lights to the right, so we'll make it custom, 100% custom.
So the customization of this is kind of like why a lot of people will have a new boat and they're like, hey, listen, I want to do a custom panel regardless.
Yeah.
And then you can swap it out, and we're going to talk about that in this entire video.
Can do as well,
So what's this panel are we going to be? Is there a particular boat?
We're going to be making a panel for a Contender 35.
A 35?
35 Contender.
We did a backyard boat deal on a 35 side console Contender.
Yeah.
So is that a popular
It is a popular panel. It's a panel that not a lot of people know how to make it, so we're going to do it from the beginning all the way to the end.
Why won't they know how to make it?
So that panel has a bend.
Okay.
And if you don't have the original panel or a template for it or a jig for it, it's really hard for you to duplicate it to where it would fit exactly onto the console itself.
Yeah.
So we made a little jig for it, which we'll be showing you, and we'll bend the panel and make everything so you could see it from the beginning to the end.
All right, guys. So let's go ahead and start this process. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut here and there, guys. We're gonna do a little bit of cutting here, because from what my understanding is sometimes at some point we're gonna open this as well. So we can show them how they would send their panel if they wanted to use your services.
So we could do it while the machine is cutting. We could probably just open this up and
so the machine is going to cut it. So you're going to cut everything right here.
Everything is going to get cut right here. This is the laser that we're using as of right now. We have a purpley pink right now in there. This is my daughter's project.
Oh, so your daughter is she gets in here?
Yeah, she gets in here.
Look at that.
Playing with it as well.
Okay, that's so cool that you're already teaching her. And how old is your daughter?
I have a 6-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Okay, and I'm assuming it's a 6-year-old that's doing this.
Yes. Yes. How did you know?
Because I know the 13-year-old is probably like,
No.
nah, I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me a little bit about this acrylic, right? Like
So-
right now, you're going to get the main acrylic for marine applications.
Correct. So usually what a lot of people like using in the marine industry is black, shiny black. We could provide it, like you mentioned earlier, any color you want. So if you want carbon fiber, you want wood grain, you want anything like that, we will find a way to make it.
Okay.
I've done metal looking panels, I've done wood grain panels, I've done carbon fiber panels.
What lasts the longest?
So the one that lasts longest, believe it or not, is matte black.
Matte black.
Matte black. It's what's actually, it's not gonna scratch as easily. It's gonna last a lot longer. It's not gonna deteriorate. The color's not gonna fade. Believe it or not. But matte black, a lot of people don't like it because it looks like starboard.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the downfalls about it, and I could show you that in a minute. So we're just gonna use a 1/4-inch acrylic to make that panel.
Now, is there anything that they need to know about certain acrylics? Like, is one acrylic better than the other? Is one manufacturer better than the other?
There is, in fact, acrylics that are better than others, and I'm sure everybody that makes panels have encountered which ones are better than others.
Which one do you like to use?
So the one that I'm using, is a cast acrylic. There is also different brands. You know, the one that I'm using, it's a really good pressed cast, or they call it pressed cast acrylic, and it takes a shape. It doesn't leave you air bubbles. You know, I guess it's a lot. You know, I don't know if the customers know exactly what I'm saying. When we route these panels, it could get chipped, and it creates like air bubbles.
Okay.
So, you know, there's materials out there that are very good, and there's materials out there that are also not great
Okay,
at
and
all.
the reason I'm asking these questions is because if you're not an expert or a professional in this, you won't know.
Yeah.
You might get a lot less
Yeah.
expensive panel.
Correct.
With very less superior.
Correct. And by the way, the price could double in a sheet. So I've purchased material inexpensive, like you're mentioning, Alfred, and there's materials that are really, really inexpensive. However, the finish is not going to be the same as a high quality acrylic as well. So, you know, we always get backed up by the manufacturers. I've had customers where they call me and say, hey, this discolored, and I actually have replaced the acrylic for them if that were to happen.
Is it common to get anything thicker than this if somebody wanted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So is there bigger boats that have thicker panels?
Correct. So right now, you know, we're working on one that is going to be a reverse flush for a boat manufacturer. I'm not going to mention the name because last time I posted a video, they told me to take it down.
Yeah, of course.
But
yeah.
what I'm saying is I do a lot of their work, and it's for a brand new boat, so the quality has to be top notch as if it was a 2025 boat.
Yes.
So, you know, just for everybody to know that we stand behind the product. If you're gonna put electronics on it, we go with thicker material. If you're not gonna put electronics in it, where, you know, we don't need to create backing plates or not, we just go with thinner material.
All right, let's go. Let's put it on the machine, see what happens. All right, guys. Yeah, that's definitely a considerable difference here. All right, let's see what Andy does here.
So right now what we're doing is we're just putting, you know, the acrylic sheet inside of the machine. These laser machines have we have to calibrate it to a certain height, and I've created my own, you know, jig to make sure that it's always calibrated to the perfect spacing. And so what we do is, in this case, we're gonna do the contender. So I'm gonna go ahead and
this is pretty cool, by the way. I don't know if it might seem like an everyday thing for you, but this is kind of cool.
Thank you. So yeah, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna show everybody a little trick,
Okay.
that competition might use, but I'm gonna say it and I'm gonna do it anyways.
Okay.
So a lot of customers, and you asked me earlier, you know, what people do versus, you know, what accounts do versus other accounts that, or other, what's it called, vendor, so stuff that I do that other people don't.
Okay.
And I've found by tampering with the machine that you might not have to paint a panel, and I'll show you an example here. So usually people on the engravings, they paint their acrylic. I've tampered with the machine enough to where it'll come out a dark or a light gray, and you don't have to paint it white. Now, if the customer does want it painted in white, we'll also actually fill this in white.
So you have to hand paint that?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So we would have painted, and by the way, it's nothing different. It's just a different, a different method.
All right, guys. Yeah. This is.
Yeah. So we would.
Okay, and how would you know which side is the cut side on this acrylic, or doesn't matter?
Hey, so on the program that we're using, I'll tell it, hey, I need you to start here in this corner, and it'll actually.
No, but I'm saying the underside is the same.
It would be the same.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it would be the same.
Okay.
Correct. This material, it would be the same on either side. Correct.
All right. I'm here asking all the dumb questions for the people that are scared to, guys.
No, you're good. You're good. So we're gonna start it there. We're gonna go ahead and preview it really quick just to make sure. I have all my settings. I need to make sure that what I'm doing is 1/4 inch acrylic. So all these are the little things that you start learning little by little.
This is where the experience comes along, right?
Yeah.
Like when. So I'm assuming you can do like the same panel for multiple people. Like,
Yeah.
I can see like a group in like Facebook that's like, hey, we all have the same boat. This is who I used.
Yep. As a matter of fact, we're doing that right now with a group of Cobias, believe it or not.
Cobia owners?
Cobia owners. It's
Look at that.
Cobia 33, and they all wanted the same exact panel. The only thing that changes is the actual logo. So everybody has, I guess, their own company logo, which is pretty cool. We're doing that, I actually right now. So it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that whenever I frame it, in just a second, make sure that it's all gonna fit in that area. And we're gonna go ahead and frame it now. Just make sure that the acrylic is inside. Yeah. See, I have a little piece there that I gotta tear off.
So it won't cut it with the paper on there?
It will, but for the technique about the color that I mentioned earlier, it cannot have the paper.
Oh, okay.
So this is a little trick that I learned.
So you're giving away some...
I'm giving away a little tidbit, yes.
All right,
that's why I said that the competition will use it.
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
But hey, at the end of the day, we're all in it for the same reason.
Trust me, there's not enough people doing this for all the boats that are out there. I guarantee you that, guys.
Correct.
All right.
So now we should be good, and there you go. Yep.
And it takes it a long time to cut, or is it quick?
So this panel, based on what information the program is getting, it says that it's going to cut in 5 minutes and 42 seconds.
Oh, I got time. I'm ready. Can I sit on this or no?
Yeah, you can.
I don't want to be in the way, right?
So, bueno, I don't know if the noise.
Okay, so you have to have this closed.
I don't have to, but the fumes are probably going to be a lot for you.
Okay, just put it on. We'll see, guys. I want them to see a little bit, and then we can close it.
Backing.
All right, I didn't realize that I'm gonna.
There you go. Oh, you're good. Let's see if it doesn't kill us for now.
I just want to see what it starts off doing. Oh, I see what it is.
So now we're actually engraving.
Now, is that a laser? What's cutting that?
That's a CO2 laser, yeah. So it's actually beaming with some light. The CO2 light, heat, and it has an air source as well. Have to have it graduated to a certain temperature and a certain power in order for it to come up with that resolution.
You can close it up.
Okay. Now, when it starts cutting, it's when the fumes start getting really.
So it'll cut the outline. and we can probably get it from here.
Yeah, you should be able to get it through here. You want me to turn that light off? I can.
No, leave it on it. I guess it shows a little bit more.
And then,
okay, and does this tell you now on the computer how far along it's cutting?
No. However, the program will tell us here.
Okay.
When it starts cutting, it'll actually start telling us the outline. So the actual laser would tell us, hey, this is where you're at when it starts cutting.
So this is basically the lettering of the switches.
Correct.
Let's talk about switches before this gets. So on most boats, say 17, let's say 15 to 25. What size switches are you seeing on 19, 22 millimeter? What are you seeing?
I'm seeing both actually. It depends on how many they're going to put on the panel and how big the panel is.
Do you have anything we can see?
I'll give you an example. So for example, something like this is the Key West that we need to paint. We haven't finished, we need to bevel it, paint it. We haven't, finished this.
So this is a panel that somebody had ordered.
Correct.
Okay. So
So after it comes out of that machine, we create what we call we route it. Right. To give it this little bevel.
Okay.
And then we polish it in a polisher, or sometimes we flame polish it, depending on how we want the finish to look.
Okay.
Then we would paint it. In this case, the customer wants it painted in white, so we paint it, hand paint it like we mentioned earlier. And then from here we start rigging. So, I have all the switches in stock. In this case, it's gonna take.
Okay.
This is 19 millimeter.
Okay, so this is a 22 millimeter.
This is 19 millimeter.
Oh, this is 19.
Yeah.
Okay,
so guys. Take 19
all right, now
millimeter.
I want to talk about these switches while that's cutting.
Yeah.
So what switches are you using and what do you like?
So all I use currently is
Go, don't worry about that.
Yeah. So all I use currently is blue water switches.
Okay.
Okay. Blue Water is one of the best companies out there. They came out and they've definitely had done a lot of stuff to put their dent in the market. You wanna record that what it's cutting?
Yeah, it's cutting. Yeah. Go. Tell me about Blue Water. Go.
So Blue Water, they've
So it's cutting now.
Yeah. So Boca Tech was out there and they were taking some market share, and these people came back and said, hey, we need a switch that is better than and they fixed all the flaws that Boca Tech did. So, on a Boca Tech switch, you have this, plus you have a harness built into it.
Okay.
With these.
Come here real quick, because okay, we're cutting out the circles, right?
Yeah. Right now, breakers and switches are actually cutting. So
okay.
The circles for the breakers and the circles for the switches are cutting right now as we speak.
All right. I just wanted them to see that, and now we're cutting on the outside of the actual panel itself.
Correct.
And it's circling it.
Correct.
So that's a super precise cut.
Oh,
can you open it real quick now?
Yeah.
Because now I want them to see that real quick, and then we can close it. I want them to definitely see this.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying about the smell.
Yeah. So it's fumes are tough.
All right. Perfect. All right, now we can close that. Let's get back to the switches, because that's going to do what it's going to do. And I just wanted them to see that. Okay, back to Boca Tech switches. And what switches are you using right now? So I want them to know, and I don't have no biases. Or,
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so what switch is this here?
So I'm using Blue Water switches. The switch, you could buy the caps, the laser engraved caps, or you could buy stainless steel caps, whichever you want. I have them both. We have laser etched, or we have stainless steel caps, which customer could tell me, hey, this is what I want. This is what we'll use for you.
Mm-hmm. I want them to see all this. This is little things that a lot of people don't even know that this can be done.
What it would look kind of with a stainless steel switch.
Don't move. Right. Okay. So 19 millimeter. That's a stainless, right?
It's stainless. Yep.
Without an actual
laser etched. Yeah,
so is there stainless with laser etched on it? No,
not at the moment.
Okay, so that's like this is a plastic cap, right?
Yeah, they're both plastic. However, this one has a you could see through it. It's like a black.
Okay, so that one that was plastic as well, the stainless one. Really? Yeah. It didn't even look.
Yeah.
It looked.
It has like a stainless steel cap right on it.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, this, we would get it for the customer, bilge, we have a nav anchor, in this case, they split the nav and the anchor. This is how the customer wanted it. So we'll put all this, we'll put the nuts on it, and then we will do the rigging. In this case, the rigging would actually go starboard side, so we will leave, the customer wanted 4 feet of wire from the actual edge of the panel.
Okay.
So we'll leave an actual 4-foot lead from this area. Okay. Customers sometimes tell me, hey, I want to put it on a bus bar, I want to put it on a fuse block, I want to put it, I want to use a noise connector. So we'll do all of that for the customer itself. And, we'll make it happen for the customer.
So this Blue Star versus Boca-Tech.
Yeah.
What are the advantages of having one or the other?
So, I mean, I've used them both, right? And by the way, previous to me having, the experience with Blue Water, I was actually installing out of the Boca-Techs. What I like about Blue Water is, Blue Water, you could actually pull apart the plug and remove the switch, replace it if it goes bad, and then reinstall it. So I could easily say, hey, here's a switch, go change it, versus now you need to call a board electrician for them to de-rig because of a Boca-Tech switch. It's all in one.
So also the whole switch is
epoxy.
That's a
the
big
actual
advantage.
harness comes epoxy.
Okay.
So Blue Water came up with this system, and to me it's a no-brainer, right?
Because you make these.
I make these.
Because you make that.
Yeah,
but not everybody has the ability to make that.
Yeah. So for example, this is what it would look without any wiring.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we would wire it with whatever harness. Customer, if they want a standard harness, it's going to be something like this, which is 12 inches.
Okay.
We will on the, and this is something that it goes without saying. It's very important for whoever's wiring these to know all these stuff. For bilge pumps, you have to make sure that you put a diode in there, because a diode will give you feedback, or it will, current will pass one way, but when the flow switch turns on, it'll actually backfeed.
What would that do?
So it will not damage the switch. However, it's still backfeeding a circuit that you're not supposed to be backfeeding.
Okay.
So for safety reasons, Blue Water recommends for you to put a diode in there, in line on the output, and that is going to protect your circuit. So that's very important. Yes, anybody could do it. Anybody could buy the crimpers and all that, but just make sure that you read the instructions on the how-tos.
Any other switches that you like using?
So I also have all the Blue Water rocker switches. They're also Blue Water. They're the biggest competitor for Carling Technologies, which is, by the way, I use Carling as well. However, Blue Water, also came through with the rocker switches. They are Blue Water branded, and Carling Technologies toggle switches. So, as you're seeing, we have pretty much all the switches in stock.
So if somebody wants it like custom, hey, look, Andy, I want Carling, I want this panel to be like that. This is consistent what we build. I'm thinking about manufacturers in this case, right? Manufacturers, they want everything to be exactly the same for every single boat. So when they have to fix something or do something, they already know. Hey, they already know what it looks like on behind there.
Yep.
Because it's consistent all throughout the area.
It's all going to be consistent. Everything is going to be the same. We have all the breakers in stock. We use also Blue Water breakers, which is, by the way, I have had zero issues with these breakers. To me, they have been really, really, really good breakers. We have them in all the amperages, all the most common amperages that it's needed for them. And I mean, that's basically
okay. Let's go over here and talk about that, because I think there is very valuable information there, and especially with the whole bilge thing, right?
Let's go ahead and pull this.
All right, guys. Let's see what.
Let's see what it looks like.
Now, is that hot? What's the story?
No. It might have been hot in the beginning, but now it's not hot anymore. So I give it some taps, some love taps, I call them. Just to break all of these apart. Sometimes, depending on where the machine is cutting, it's actually. So this is what it would look like. That's how the panel looks like initially.
Okay. So this is a 35 contender panel.
Correct. It's a 35 contender.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So Where do we go from here?
Now from here we go into the routing station. So basically what I do is I prep it because I don't want that to get scratched. So I'll clean it up and make sure that there's nothing. By the way, new cloth every time with every new panel. You know, and I
every new
panel I use a new cloth just because I don't want them to get scratched, or maybe a scratch from the previous panel would so we'll go like that just to clean it out, just to make sure that all the names and everything came out nice. Take all those burn marks off, and this is just a rough clean. We're gonna clean it one more time before it.
All right, let me show that real quick. Guys, I hope that the camera can translate how it's actually, it's so crisp that the reflection on the camera's not letting me show it well, but I hope I can. Let me see if I can bring it up here. There you go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so if somebody wanted just that part of the panel right there, they can buy that.
They could buy just that. Yeah.
Without anything.
So I would always provide the panels. Every time I give a customer a panel, I would always provide the screws. They're going to be black screws unless they don't want them.
Okay.
But I always provide black screws.
Okay.
And they're always going to be routed.
All right.
I have never given out a panel that is not routed in the edges, and it's for two reasons. And this is where maybe the background or the knowledge comes in. When you install a panel like this onto a boat, yacht, whatever it is, a square mark, a square edge would actually be 4 times weaker than when you route the edges. So let's say that you have to make a bend like this. Let's say that this panel has a bend like that, right? Eventually along the line, that panel is just gonna crack on you right then and there. Whereas if you route this panel, it's gonna give it a lot more rigidity.
Okay.
And at the same time, you could probably, with a little bit of heat, form it and just leave it at that one spot.
Okay.
So that's something that.
So let's just say somebody's gonna go ahead and install this panel on the screws. How when they install it, right? Because I'm assuming that can be over tightened. If not, it'll crack the acrylic panel.
Right.
What do you recommend in that scenario when somebody is tightening and stuff like that?
So if they're going to use the screws that I provide, I buy one specific screw that when they go down all the way to the bottom of the actual panel, of course this is not beveled yet, it'll actually bottom out right there. So you'll feel when it just gets hard, and always do it by hand, you'll feel when it's just going to bottom out. Not
with a drill, guys.
No
Everything
drill.
is by hand.
Correct.
Screwdriver,
I would recommend. There's mechanics that do it by.
Because then all of a sudden you have this pretty panel, and then you break off the corner of the lip or whatever, wherever the bolts are.
Correct.
Okay, so we got the first cleaning on that.
Yeah. We're gonna go ahead and now mask it. Okay. So it doesn't get scratched when we go into the phase 2 of the panel making.
Wow, I didn't even know that this was a thing already. Like, this is something that's.
And again, not everybody does this, and this is just, you know, it's one of those things where.
You want to make sure that the customer gets perfection when it reaches their door.
Correct. It's you know, I've seen material that comes scratched and whatnot from factory, and this is how I uncover it, you know, and we don't want that for the customer. You know. Let's say that I got to send a panel to New York or to Texas or something like that, and the panel gets up there all scratched. You know, it's going to be on me, right, for not checking that panel.
And then time, right? Like now the person probably needed that panel for something, and now somebody has to wait.
Correct. Now we go outside and do the routing and cutting.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna take a quick break while we do that. Okay, so we're gonna take this outside so we can route it. Okay. Okay, hold on. So show them. Let's show them real quick what's going on here.
So right now, what we're doing is, you know, the laser machine, when it cuts into a straight edge. Okay. As a matter of fact, so is the router. Everything that you have out in the market will cut a straight edge. So now I've put a bevel routing bit to bevel the edges for this particular size, for this particular material. So there's different bits for different acrylic sizes. In this case, we're using the one for 1/4 inch, and we're just gonna give it some shape. So
all right, guys.
there's gonna be some noise here in a second.
Yeah. I'm gonna stay right here. Go. You can
Go.
do it. Yeah.
This one. Now we're gonna go with the polishing. So now, one thing that I do, that I also have learned, is to sand it down. So I have my hand palm sander or whatnot, and we'll give it.
You're gonna sand what down?
We sand down the edges.
Okay.
Really quick. Nothing crazy. You'll see that it's gonna be a quick sand.
This is already a little bit more than what I thought a panel would take.
Yeah.
I would have thought that it would have all the. Yeah. Okay, now I see why you're saying you have to repolish.
Correct. So sand it down. And all this is doing is just taking all those lines out, basically, so it doesn't come up when we polish. Go ahead and polish it.
This is going to be a great video. I'm so glad because there's some people that really enjoy content like this. This is stuff that people really appreciate. Guys, if you could smash that like button for letting him show us exactly how and what he does here with these panels. All right.
So now a little trick that I have is I go with a thinner sandpaper.
Also, so you just swapped out a sandpaper with a lighter grit.
Lighter grit. And now what I'm doing is I'm just taking all the swirl marks that one left, taking them off. This would actually be a nice polished panel here in a second.
Yeah, guys, it is windy, so if you hear a little, no worries, go get what you gotta get. If you do hear a little bit of wind, it's that. Let me see if I can show you guys a close-up of what's this looking like. That is pretty cool, dude. All right.
So now I just like cleaning it that way it doesn't clog up my. So that's kind of the result that we want. Mm-hmm. The corners are always going to look a little wide. That's kind of
all right.
Always going to look. Turn on my polisher. In this case, we're going to do a polish, wax polish. And now, literally, we're just going to go in there. And we're going to polish edges. Without burning the acrylic, and that's the finish that we're looking for.
What? Hold on. Keep it there. Yeah, move it a little bit. Woof. Just like that.
That's the finish that we're looking for. Making sure that we're moving it consistently. That way it doesn't overburn on us, which is the hardest part to do with thin material, by the way.
Thin material is a little harder to work.
Thin material burns up a lot faster.
And you say burn, meaning you'll have to resand it if it becomes a problem?
I would have to resand it, correct. Basically, we just go through it. I might need a little bit more wax here.
Now this paste that you're using, what paste? what particular?
This is actually plastic and self-abrasive polish.
Okay.
It's you know, I buy it at the supply. It's meant actually for plastics and acrylics.
And you didn't need to use a lot of that just to get this result.
Just to get it started. The thicker the material, the more you'll need. But for this little piece, I didn't need much. So that's kind of, you know, the edge that you're looking for. I don't know if you can see it there.
Oh no, it's beautiful. Yeah, I hope the camera can translate it. That's beautiful.
So
okay.
That's basically what we're looking for. But one more. There's the top side. We're doing one more polish. The top side, which everybody's going to see, and then in this case, this is a contender panel, so everybody's going to see that bottom edge. So we kind of do another segment there for a second. You know, that's kind of what it'll look like.
Beautiful. Comment below, guys. What do you guys think? All right.
We'll go back inside.
Back inside, guys.
Actually, let's. I'm gonna bevel the edges here really quick since we're here. Put a battery, of course.
That'll usually work.
So, a lot of people ask me, what is this bit? A lot of people call me a rookie. I'm a left-handed, so can you take the shot on this side?
Yeah.
Right-handed, I mean. So basically, this is gonna give you a perfect bevel every single time, consistent. I take the guessing game out of the equation. So basically, you see that it'll stop here. It will not bevel anymore. Another tidbit for my competition.
Hey. Trust me, the customers that you're going to gain from a video like this, your competition won't care.
So basically, you know, once you adjust this tool, gives you consistent bevels every single time. Now we just go polish the inside of that, and we'll be good. You'll see it in 2 minutes.
All right, guys, let's get back inside. All right, we're back inside. Okay,
back inside.
Okay, so let me show them this real quick, Andy, because I just saw this right here. This is carbon fiber.
Correct.
So this is an option as well,
yeah,
right?
That is another version.
Is it common to have people pick like?
Honestly, not really. You know, I thought carbon was going to be a lot more popular.
Okay.
And it really isn't. You know, when you get into these big, for example, Nortex and whatnot, where they want to do something crazy. I've seen concepts where they want to also get, you know, crazy panels. Then they'll go ahead and ask for stuff like that, and you know, we customize it. We'll order the sheets that they're going to be illuminated. You know, we'll get all of that there for them. So basically, we're done with the panel. Now in this panel, we're going to bend it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna bend it the easy way, since, you know, we're gonna stay inside today, and you'll see what that is.
So this has, the contender panel has a small bend.
Oh yes, actually a 90-degree bend, 60-degree bend. So this is my handy dandy jig for contender 35.
Dude, you know it's funny, because I bet you this video is gonna have a bunch of contender 35. I'll tell you guys, if you want a contender 35, there's a backyard boat deal that I actually filmed in Fort Lauderdale. Badass boat, side console, incredible boat. Guy literally had almost brand new Suzuki, Mercury Alberts on it. Okay. This is the backside, right?
This is the backside, so we don't care if that scratches or anything. The side that we have to take care of is the front part, which, you know, again, we'll put another sheet of this. You know, we just didn't want it to get scratched or whatnot. I know we gave it a quick polish and all that. You'll see a line there, and you know, it's gonna look dirty because we put dust on it again.
Okay,
we're outside.
This is perfect though. Like all right.
That's our jig.
I hope you guys are appreciating this content, guys. This is You know, I think a lot of guys are scared to show what they do and how they do stuff because they think everybody's gonna copy them, right?
Yeah.
But not everybody has the level of experience that it takes to do this as fast as you can do it with the equipment that you can do it. Like literally, this machine, how much time does it save you?
Oh yes,
Hours
it
wise.
saves me a lot of time. Since we're gonna stay inside, we're gonna use the heat gun. I do have an acrylic bender, which we're not gonna set up. We're just gonna do this the fast way, which I've done it many times like this.
Yeah. And when you say it's an acrylic bender, what does that do?
It basically heats up my acrylic evenly all throughout.
Okay.
So basically, I would set it on top of the. By the way, we have it right here. You know, so I would set it.
Okay, I see it there.
Yeah. So I would set it. I would set the acrylic right on the edge where I want it to bend, and it'll actually heat up evenly all the way throughout.
So now you're doing it the old school way.
This is the old school way, the way that I learned, by the way.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. It's going to be a little bit faster since we don't have to set up the machine. You know, we will put this at a certain temperature, and we'll bend it. You guys will see how easy it is to bend a Montaner 35 panel. So I always start with the back side. And I'll kind of give it about 2-3 seconds. The trick to the acrylic is to make sure that we heat up the center of the acrylic. So you could heat up both sides, but the trick is to actually heat up the center of the acrylic. So you know how when you put something in the microwave, sometimes it's cold on the outside and warm on the inside?
Yeah.
Well, we're doing it backwards. We need to warm up the inside in order for it to actually bend. You'll see that it's going to start taking a weird shape just because we're putting the heat there.
I see that already.
Yeah, so it's going to start taking a weird shape. And by the way, it's going to be losing it just because of all the holes and all that. So now that I have everything heat up, we're just going to go back and forward where I want to bend it. And since I've done this panel quite a few times, I know exactly where the bend needs to meet, and it's right where those switches are, a little bit lower where the switches are. So that's why I'm heating up the entire 1-inch area. One thing that I forgot to get was, excuse me, sorry. So what this tells me is, you know, where I need to apply more heat. So right now it's saying, hey, that corner is at 200 degrees. I'll heat it up no more because this is at 170, 190 now, right?
And the other tool will be consistently doing that.
It'll heat up consistently, so I could actually start marking it. So right now when we're hitting this side is getting cold, and vice versa. When we're hitting this side, and I just want to know where I need to apply heat evenly. So once I get it to 230 all the way throughout, by the way, that's my number. Everybody could use something different. I don't know. That's the number that works for me.
You like 230?
230 in the back side, and then I'll do 200 in the front side. That's just what's worked for me. Again, you know, this is
let the comment section kill each other. There, go ahead. Go ahead. That guy doesn't know anything.
Yeah. So now that we had
what kind of heat gun is that? You know, the internet's a beautiful thing.
Oh, I love it. I love it. The other day, Kiwi posted a video of one of my, you know, the cell phone holders. And somebody from up north, he's like, oh, why don't you just put it on top of the dash? I'm like, oh, this guy's never been in a boat. You know, you put a phone on the dash, it's gonna fall on you. It's gonna fall, you know, when you go wide open.
Listen, the internet's a beautiful thing.
And I'm like,
you can't live with it, you can't live without it. Okay, so you want to do 200 degrees up front.
So I want to do 200 degrees in the front, evenly, and 230 in the back. That's kind of what's worked for me. 258 right now, and it doesn't look like it's see how it's 140 there.
How many times have you had this process all happen and then you mess up a panel and you have to redo it?
Don't even jinx it, because it happens
Often.
very often. You know, a lot of people think that you know, when you're bending a panel, that it's going to be very straightforward. Well, I'll tell you what, you know, it happens more often than you think.
There's no substitute for experience.
And that's why, you know, usually when you're going to bend the panel, you have to charge a little bit more. And it's not because we want to charge a little bit more. It's just something may be bound to happen.
You're offsetting some of the expenses that
Correct.
more than likely will happen.
So now what we'll do is we'll push into it and see. Actually, usually I wear gloves. Yeah, it's not ready.
It still needs more.
Needs a little bit more. Needs a little bit more. That's why I use, by the way, I use that tool, but I gotta get water for it.
Listen, I want them to see this because this is your experience working right now. And look, and I'd rather it be real, like the way they see it, the way that it's really happening, so they can see the challenges. Because listen, instead of somebody saying, hey, I'm gonna save myself X amount of money, I'll just call Limitless and have them do it and let him deal with it. Once you give him the price, you give him the price, right?
Yep.
That's it. You can break a panel 20 times, that's your problem.
That is my problem.
But you're gonna give him a panel that's perfect and working.
Correct.
So
I actually had a guy that I broke his panel 3 times, and we were kind of in a deadline. We were able to meet the deadline, but you know, the other work got a little bit behind because I was making sure that this guy was out of the water.
And can you imagine if that were him 3 times, bro? He'd go crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yes.
Because you probably have extra acrylic laying around that you know that you can cut from. Now this guy has to run and get it from wherever has it, and I'm sure this stuff is not the most available.
Or maybe even worse than that. Maybe they have to go and have somebody make the panel flat, right? And then they need to bend it, right? So
in low key, I'm kind of hoping it breaks. No, because seriously, I want them to see all the effort that it takes.
yeah.
And I'm not telling you to break it down.
No,
because
I'm not gonna try to break it, but if it breaks, you know.
Okay, good, but I want them to know that.
Yeah.
Because for me already, this is enough for me to say, bro, that's a mission, bro. How much do you want? Where's the website? How do I hit you up on your DMs?
Yeah. By the way, the website coming soon.
What's it going to be called?
Limitless Marine Customs. I already paid for the
LimitlessMarineCustoms.com.
Yep.
And then right now they can get you a hold of you on what Instagram?
Instagram and TikTok right now.
Limitless Marine Customs on Instagram.
Yep.
Isn't it _Limitless _?
On TikTok, it's Limitless _Marine _Customs. On TikTok, you can type it in both ways and it'll come up.
Okay, guys, and we'll put the information on the description below. Regardless, we'll give you Andy's phone number so you can call him direct. Old school style, right?
Yeah.
Give me a phone call and I'll answer.
Oh, yes. And usually what I tell a lot of customers, you know, sometimes we have the machine running, we have, you know, the vent running. If I don't answer right then and there, shoot me a quick text. I will reply, and that is a guarantee. You know?
Okay.
As of right now, we'll reply.
And he's always on time, guys.
Not if I'm getting a haircut.
He made the diva wait, guys, but then he went ahead and we had lunch, so it was good.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Okay, so we got the front side now. Again,
Get the front side.
so it's a little hotter now. You put a little bit more heat.
I put more heat.
Wait for it.
Wait for it. Yeah.
Dude, this is all before it even gets rigged.
Yep.
But it's still a lot of work. And I'm sure the rigging must be super meticulous.
So I you know, go to my videos. I have some videos where I'm showing some rigging. Unfortunately, some of them are so time sensitive that I can't make a video out of it. I'll take some pictures and whatnot. But yes, you know, they're gonna come out to your specs. You know, you tell me, hey Andy, I need so and so going to the left or going to the right. You know, aquí está para los haters.
There you go, guys.
I'm gonna put gloves. It's the moment of truth.
Oh, you lost that 5 degrees right there by dropping the glove.
No, it should be ready. I only see the center. So you see how it starts milking?
Yeah.
You see that milking? It's a little bit in the middle where you see how there's a line there.
Yeah.
And by the way, I only wear gloves to not scratch the panel and to withhold the heat. I lost 5 degrees.
I told you.
It's gonna be an interesting panel too.
So is this usually a hard panel for you to do?
No, not really.
No. Okay. No. What would you say is a hard one?
A hard panel is I'll show you that one in a second. That panel is gonna be a hard one. This is the panel for that company that I mentioned earlier. I've done 3 bend panels, like that yellowfin that I told you I broke 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
It should be good actually. We're still not hot enough. Can you believe that? Hey guys, this is live.
No, hey, listen.
Oye, si hubiese sido un live.
No, listen. But that's the reality. You're showing the temperature on it.
This is the customer that I didn't answer earlier. Yeah.
I guess he'll see the video and be like, "Oh, that's why he didn't
Coño, con
answer."
razón.
Yeah.
Remember when I mentioned earlier when you route it, you actually create firmness on the panel?
Yeah.
That's basically what's happening. I gave it a really aggressive route. Usually we don't route them that aggressive.
Now, what if you would have actually bent it prior to you routing it?
Then it's really hard for you to route it afterwards.
Okay.
Because you have a bend, so you have to kind of maneuver through it.
Dude, so Contender they really wanted the panel guys to hate you guys when they designed this panel for that 35, huh?
Yeah, so they make it out of metal, so they go with a jig and they go whoop, and they bend it.
Oh.
You know, the original panels.
So it's metal.
The original panel's metal. What we're making is a
so this is a
duplicate.
lot prettier.
Oh yeah, this is nicer.
No wonder.
By the way, we could also make it out of metal if the customer decides to do it. Aluminum, metal, whichever. El video hay que cortarlo. If I put more heat on this, what I'll do is I'll melt it.
Yeah, no.
That's why we gotta go super slow.
No, listen, I want them to see this. I really do, because there's experience, and you're not trying to break it, right?
No.
I know you're not trying to break it. And this is where I said in the beginning of this video, you have to have a lot of patience to do this type of job, right?
Oh yes. Let's see. Gonna have to whip out my bending tool. One more try.
And then once you have that angle and that cut, then what?
Once we have the angle that it's ready, once we have the bend, we hold it there for a little bit just so it can take the shape. Cool it. Sometimes I put water, sometimes I spray it with the compressor. then we start rigging. We start installing all the switches, all the breakers, everything that the customer wants on this panel, and then we turn it around. We give it to the customer. Sometimes they just want the panel, so we'll just provide the panel with the bend, and they just do the rest themselves, which I've done plenty of times as well. But this panel is actually winning. But I'm glad you're seeing this.
Is that also the material that's
good material? Yeah, I've seen where materials have a stronger side. On the same sheet, you could have a more stronger side, and then they have a weaker side. I've seen that. As a matter of fact, that's with all materials, whether it's plywood, whether it's metal, whether it's wood, whether it's whatever, you'll see that. You'll see it for sure.
Looks like it's getting that bend now.
Yeah, we gotta heat this side a little bit more. We should be good to go. There we go.
What a mission, my goodness, bro.
You'll see.
So anything that doesn't have a bend, it's obviously cheaper.
Oh yeah.
The minute it has a bend, guys, you guys are gonna spend more money.
It starts getting into the complicated side, and by the way, it all depends on the panel as well. How the bend takes in place and all that. You'll see how now it'll start taking shape little by little. See how now this corner is done. Now I could actually wedge it here. Start working on the rest little by little, and this is where they actually break, because they start.
This is where it'll break.
This is where it could break.
Wait for it.
I don't want to break it.
Wait for it. Wait for it. But I'd feel terrible for me, because this is a lot of SD card space. We're gonna have a new SD card over here, guys.
All right, so this panel is done.
It's done.
So that is the panel right there.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a wicked curve on that. And to think, no wonder why they're going to want to replace it. All right, bro, this is a workout, so I would charge triple.
You would charge triple?
I would charge triple.
So this is where, all the jigs come through, and
okay,
just wait for it to dry up.
Now you just wait for it to cool off.
Usually I have my air gun ready, but I'm so nervous that we think it's gonna break.
Okay.
But usually I just spray air, and air cools it down.
Okay.
Actually, I'm gonna get it really quick.
You want me to hold something right there?
No,
You're good?
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't deform on this side, but we're good. We'll just get some air now. Wow. But it should be good already. That panel is not gonna go nowhere. That panel is not gonna go nowhere.
This is before we even start the rigging part of this video, guys.
This is before we start the rigging. You know, like. So what you want is to cool it down quick, and that is, believe it or not, still hot. So that is the Contender 35 that goes in an angle. It goes in that angle in the panels, and this is what you see from the top.
Yeah.
So usually when the console has a little hole, and it kind of sits like this, and you know, of course, this is what you would see when it cools down. We'll put a little bit of alcohol and it'll brighten all of these names up, and that's the panel right there for you. We'll clean it up. I'll start putting switches on here right now.
So if somebody wanted to, because we're gonna show the rigging aspect of this in part 2.
Yeah.
Okay. We just built this 35 contender panel. If they want to see the electrical side of how we rig it, we're gonna start that process now.
Yeah, of course. That's what we're gonna do now. So we're gonna install all the switches, all the breakers, you know, based on the information that we got from the customer and whatnot, or you know, mechanic, whoever it is, the installer that is getting the switch. We'll get ready. We'll see.
Can you just give them a preview of what it's going to look like by just putting
Sure.
something just so they can see part 2?
Yeah.
Like get ready for part 2.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So something like this, you know, I guess you want me to send you the video, or you want me to show you now?
Yeah, show me now. I want them to see that before we get out of here.
Yeah.
That is.
So if it's something that it's a 22 or 19 millimeter, it's gonna look something like that, which we've done plenty of. This is blue water, 19 or 22 millimeter. Oh, Casper came in.
Yeah.
If it's something that is gonna be toggle switch or rocker switch, I have examples of that as well. But also just look on. So this is what toggle switch would look like. Again, all the names. I don't know if you could capture that or not. With all the breakers.
All right.
Yeah, so that's kind of what it would look like, basically.
Yeah, guys. Here it is. All right, let's give them. Let me show that real quick because we're gonna end this video, guys. Just a little bit. Just a little hot. That's fine. That's fine. Don't worry about it, guys. If you want to build your own panel, Limitless, give them your phone number, Andy.
305-972-0223.
How long is the turnaround time?
For this panel, if you want just the panel itself, it'll be 2-3 days turnaround as of right now.
Contact him for any information about the cost. You guys saw the full video. If you haven't seen the full video on my YouTube channel, Alfred Montaner Magazine, as always,
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
everything.
you. All right, we're ready. So this is when it gets fun, guys. Part 2.
Part 2.
Part 2, guys. If you missed part 1 of how to build and rig a marine panel, you missed how this was actually made, guys. Wow. And right now it's still, I mean, we haven't even cleaned it up because this is part 2, because this is exactly what you do to show them and build these panels, right?
Yep.
So in most cases, most people will crimp stuff and cut stuff by hand, but because you do stuff so much and in such volume, you use this machine, and you're gonna show us how. Is this something the competitors are also gonna like in the first video? Or
They're gonna love it.
They're
gonna
just
love
to
it.
figure this out. I think they're not gonna be like, dude, like so you have to have some level of technical knowledge to understand some of this stuff, guys.
Yeah, so
It's
there's it's technique to it, you know. Every time you change gauge, wire and whatnot, you have to kind of readjust and all that.
Okay, so
But,
so what? Let's talk about, because this is basically the back panel, the rigging of the back panel that we just built. We're not going to do the whole panel. I just want them to get an understanding of how you'll build it, and you can ship it to them and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
What electrical are we using?
So right now we're using this. In this case, we're gonna do the bridges that go from the breaker to the switches. This is 12 gauge anchor wire.
Okay, so this wire is, and you like anchor?
I really really like anchor. I mean, I would use, you know, Pacer. I would use. There's other manufacturers out there that I would use as well.
What won't you use?
There's
say it. I want you to say it.
There's some that are very low quality. Like there's some Mar Pack products. There's some C-Choice product. There's some. All manufacturers have like low end.
What would you say is the best? From what you see down here, a lot.
So what I see a lot is Anchor and Pacer. Those are the two that are, to me, top notch.
Aren't those made by the same company or no?
They probably are. They probably are. I couldn't say that for certain, but they look exactly the same when I'm rigging a panel.
Okay. So Anchor, what do you like on the building side of it? What do you like about it? Forget about how good it is. Like when you work it, right? As a professional who deals with this stuff every day, what do you like about it?
The time. I could guarantee that this cable is gonna last you the time that it says. So for example, if I rig a panel and I do all the connections the correct way and we heat shrink it the way that it's supposed to, I could guarantee this panel for 10 years and there's no rust that is gonna go through this cable.
Okay.
Oil rated, you know.
Good.
Fuel rated.
I want people to know that, right?
Yeah.
Is there a something that'll say it on there, Anchor or what?
It should say it, you know, wet oil, right there. Anchor marine grade wire. I don't know if you can catch it with the camera.
I don't know. It says Anchor marine wire, guys.
It says Anchor marine, yeah.
Okay. All
right.
right.
Now I'm just setting up the machine. You know, it takes a little bit in order for it to run, and then we'll.
And then in most cases, like the average person that's not doing this in bulk, they'll just crimp it and cut it themselves manually, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But since you're doing such volume, you want to show them for the video how you would set it up.
Correct.
To do multiple jobs.
Correct.
For the same panel, for maybe a manufacturer or whoever you're doing business with. Guys, manufacturers,
Correct.
I would tell you, if you're backed up, Andy would be a good option to go ahead and reach out to. Hey, listen, you'd be surprised how much these manufacturers use small businesses like yourself. And you save them a ton of trouble.
For sure, yeah.
A ton of trouble, because they focus on what they're good at, which is building boats.
Yeah, for
You know, not saying that they don't know how to do the electrical and all that stuff, but sometimes, listen, sometimes it's just, hey, it'll be faster to get somebody else to outsource it that they can trust.
For sure. I see it every day. You know, I see it every day. There's people that want, you know, something done quick, and internally they don't have, you know, they don't have the time, or they're just too backed up, and they'll just literally start. That happened. Thank God. So yeah, they'll start subcontracting, and they'll say, hey, you know, what's your lead time, and you provide something good for them.
And one of the things like, guys, this is a panel that Andy made, but they had an issue with it, and it looked perfectly fine, but he won't let it leave here, right? Because of, what was the issue with this one here?
This panel, when we drew it, the holes were too big, and when we went to bevel it, we actually found out that the hole size that we had inputted into the system were too big. So yes, I could give this to the customer, and he probably won't even notice because it's going to cover the hole.
Yeah.
However, what's going to happen is that they might over tighten it. Since we were not installing this one, they might over tighten it and crack it because it's so thin.
Something minimal, so minimal.
So minimal, yeah. But something like that, I would not let.
I would tell you this, though. You know what I would do if I were you? Because you'll come across. Didn't you have another one over there?
Yeah.
I want you to show them that because while you're setting this up, where's the other one? There's a small defect on another panel here for a concept. Okay, let me see if they'll see the defect, right? Right? They won't. But the issue is right, that little edge right there, that little thing.
Yep.
Can't put it out to market. But you know what? I would say this. This is just me talking. You know how they make money in Dunkin' Donuts? They make the circle and they cut out the hole and then they sell you the hole. Yeah. Right? What's in the middle? Yeah. That you should offer that for your hey, look, these are defected panels. Yeah. It might work out for you. Boom. Might, and half price or whatever. Somebody knows. Yeah. And then at the same time you already know, hey, listen, it's a panel that it's not 100% guaranteed.
At least they'll know, that it's not.
Of course,
it's not that it's.
And I think people will appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's get this going. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah, let's get this going. Right, waiting for it to load. I'm just gonna try it, make sure that it's popping out. It might shoot that way, by the way.
All right, let's see. I don't want to get stabbed by some anchor wire over here.
No, you won't. Wait, hit start. And that's what the machine is doing.
That is wild. Okay, now I see how much time you just saved, dude.
Yeah. You just made all of those in a fraction of minutes. And
dude, that was less than 15 seconds. I can rewind it. Right now, think about it. Okay, so this will be in the back of the panel.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Which we're going to show maybe something, right? Like nothing. Guys, we're not going to do all 10, but I want them to get the understanding of how you rig these panels.
Okay.
Okay, so they saw that. In most cases, they'll use something else.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
To cut it. Mm-hmm. Okay, where do we go from here?
So now basically we're going to install the switches, we're going to install the breakers on the panel, and we're going to start crimping.
Okay, so let's show them that part.
Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and show you guys a little bit of that because this is what this video is about.
So now we determine what amperage, what
what is the most common amperage that you see on outboards, and maybe some valuable information that someone needs to know when they're asking questions. Remember, when somebody's asking a question to you, what should they know? Yeah.
So basically, what I go with whatever the specs of the manufacturer. So let's say that we're putting lights, and they're LED lights. Usually they're going to be 5 to 10 amps. If they're going to be pumps, they're 10 to 15. Some pumps even 28 amps. So we're going to stay around that range. So basically, in this case, we know that nav and anchors, it's going to be a 10 amp fuse. Panel light's going to be a 10 amp fuse. Then we have some bilge pumps. That's where you start getting into, the higher amperage breakers and whatnot. And you keep moving forward throughout the. We turn that off.
What would you say is the most important part of this panel? The bilge.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
100%.
Definitely.
Right.
You want to make sure that. Yeah. Want to make sure
the bilge can never fail, guys, because that's going to prevent your boat from going bloop 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 bloop.
Oh yes. Oh yes. So now
basically, as important as doing this, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is super important.
By the way, it has the cutout, so all the breakers have their own cutout.
Let's show that at an angle.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. And then if you look over here, guys,
panel has that cutout, so we could just load them in there. Macerator.
Now these are Blue Star as well?
These are blue water.
Blue water, I mean.
Yeah, yeah. These are all blue water breakers. By the way, great quality. You know, spreader lights, T-top lights. So usually 10 and 15 is, you know, the most common. I have some 10.5s. So this is 10.
So
this is 10. You'll see how we're gonna hold them on there now. Pumps.
all right. In this case right here, what is somebody spending on all these breakers? If they were to buy it and do this stuff themselves, more or less.
So more or less,
Obviously
if they're going to any of the hardware stores and whatnot, they're paying between, you know, $8 to $12 a pop here.
Okay.
That's not including the breaker boot,
Okay.
which we also provide. So, you know, we'll provide the breaker boot as well. That's part of the install. You know, when we rig the panel, we'll provide the black boot as standard. If customer wants white or clear, you know, that we also have. So we'll install all of that onto.
So this can get pricey if just
yes.
looking at it, like something super intricate, like a big panel.
Yeah.
Like I'll tell you, there's a lot of people that have said, oh, but I'm going touchscreen and I'm doing everything through my
yes.
NEMA and all that. Honestly, a lot of people are going back to push buttons because it doesn't fail.
Yeah. So a lot of people have, you know, a really the push button switches have a really bad reputation, and it's not because the switches are bad. It's that when you think about a rocker switches and toggle switches have been around for how long?
Forever.
You know, they've been around forever. So it just so happens that these push switches are the new kids in the block, and you know, of course, they're trying to make it, and they're the first people that came out with them. Were actually giving mechanics a headache because mechanics had to de-rig the entire panel,
which was
the Boca-Tex. Well, by the way, the Boca-Tex were not the first ones in the game, but they were the most popular.
Yes.
And the ones that got more traction. But now I've seen these blue water switches in, you know, Contenders. I've seen them in Invincible. I've seen them in numerous amount of boat builders where, you know, they put high-end stuff only in their panels.
And you say Carling also does these as well?
Carling has these. There's quite a few manufacturers. Blue Seas is the most popular one for these breakers.
Okay. But these are blue waters.
These are blue water.
So Blue Seas, I think El Capitan South and El Capitan North has them.
Yep.
So you think those are good as well?
Oh yeah, definitely,
Okay,
definitely, really good as
Okay.
well.
And that's will be something like this, right?
Yep. It's gonna come in a package like that. Yeah.
There you go.
Nothing wrong with them either.
Yeah, and you know, I think there's a good follow-up video that Andres from Perfect Fit Boating just did a video of how to wire your boat.
Yeah.
So watching this panel being built and how to wire your own boat, I think with those two videos, dude,
you could probably set up your own. You could probably make your own panel. You could probably make your own.
What would you say is the most important part of the electrical system, in your opinion?
In my opinion.
In your opinion.
The most important part is make sure you're fused. A lot of people try to skip that step, and that's how you could start a fire. That's how you could create a nightmare.
So just your fuses are important.
Make sure your fuses or your breakers are in place. Make sure that everything has a fuse. Make sure that everything has a breaker. Yeah, that's gonna save you a lot of headaches.
And a fire.
And a fire if it
gets to that point.
Correct, yeah. It's going to melt the wire and, you know.
Now, how would you be able to tell if one of your switches are bad? Like one of these switches.
So these, right now they're reset, but this pops out super long. This is a resettable breaker that when it pops, it sticks out, right? Okay. And when you're touching the boot, for example, if it's not working, when you turn on the switch, if it's not working, you could tell by just pushing on the boot if it clicks back in.
Okay.
So if this trips, you just plop, click it, and it'll actually come back to life.
Okay. And then that's a warning telling you that, hey, there's a short somewhere.
Something is happening. Yeah, it's either getting hot or overloaded, or it's been running hot. Sometimes
What are some of the issues?
Sometimes you use like the wrong cable, for example, on a pump. Let's say that it's a heavy duty pump, and now you're using a cable that is too thin.
Yeah.
What happens is it warms up the wiring or the circuit, and that's where this is a thermal circuit, and that's where this would reset. It'll just pop that way. Tells you, hey, there's an issue.
So something so simple as that, it could create a huge headache.
And
you think, wow, I just rewired this whole boat and everything is perfect on you, and then maybe the wrong wire for that particular.
I've seen where maybe corrosion gets on the cable. Mm-hmm. And it creates a lot of resistance as well. That's why cable is super important as well, and that also triggers problems. So I've seen that. That's super common as well.
So pretty.
So now we're gonna go with the switches.
Okay, and these switches are what?
These are toggle switches, Carling Technologies. That we're gonna. So these mainly are all. There's only two here that are gonna be. So for example, for the windlass and for the coffin box in this contender, coffin box is gonna be momentary because it's a box that's going up and down, and then the windlass, it's also momentary. It's gonna go up and down.
Okay. Can you explain the momentary and
yeah,
so they know?
So a switch that is on off is basically just a contact that is going to stay on all the time. In this case, you turn it off. When you turn it on, that is basically a switch that is going to stay on. This, we call it an on-off switch. There's also switches where they're momentary switches. So for example, a horn where you don't want to turn it on and leave it on where it's signaling something. You turn it on and it'll actually reset itself back to a normal place or a normal position.
And so that is known as what?
This is a momentary switch.
Okay.
So momentary switch, there's two position momentary where it'll be momentary to the top, momentary to the bottom.
Okay.
So that's basically a momentary switch, which we'll not use because this
we don't need it.
boat has it somewhere else. For navigation, usually you'll use a double pull, double throw, on, off, on. Also Carling Technologies. So basically you turn it on one side or turn it on the other side. So for example, if you just want anchor on but no navigation, let's say you're anchored in Nelly Key or wherever it is that you're at, and then when you're running, you turn it on to the other position and it'll turn on your anchor and your nav.
Now you can use the other blue water switches if you wanted a flush mount also on these as well.
Correct, yeah.
In this case, we're using the Carling.
Correct. In this case, we're just using these toggle switches. But we could put any type of switches in here.
Can we show them that for just this video? Because we showed that in part one.
Correct.
And I just want them to see that because this is also an option that they can, and these are the blue water switches.
These are blue water switches, 19 millimeter.
And can you fill it in there so they can see it, what it'll look like?
Well,
will
it
fit?
won't, no,
not right now.
We have this panel that it takes, it takes the 19 millimeter.
All right, so,
switches.
so this is just an option.
Yeah.
So they can see the difference between something like that or like this.
Or you could go with a rocker switch, which is going to look something like
which is the most common.
This is super common. You'll have your illumination or no illumination or however it is that you want.
Boom.
But that's kind of how it would look when you put the caps on.
Yeah.
Or it'll have a light. Or we
What's the difference between price with this, and this? See, I'm asking all the questions, right? Because
it's
considerable.
It's a big difference
when you go
from a panel it's a toggle switch panel, which is going to be probably the most economical way to go. When you go with a blue water switch, what you're using, if you're using an electronic switch, it could probably double in price. So for example, if you're going for a 12, 14, there's some switches of these that I sell for $20 depending on the load, or it could be as low as $6 or $7.
Yeah.
So it depends on the
and
switch.
This is 2025 pricing. This can change by 2030. You might watch this video and it's 5 times more.
As a matter of fact, it's going up as we speak.
That's
because
crazy.
of all these
Yeah. Well, I
other
heard you
stuff.
talking to your supplier, and
Yeah.
you're begging him for switches, guys. So yes. Hey, I need more switches.
Yeah.
And if you see here, like there's stuff that he's missing already.
Oh, yes.
Right? So,
I'm waiting on that. I'm waiting
Okay.
on.
all right. Now, so back to that. I just wanted to let them know that so they can see that
Yeah.
visually on this part 2 of the
Yeah, of
of
course.
this video, right?
So now what we're gonna do is, since we know that this is gonna be a nav anchor, this switch, goes right here, takes its cap, and we start loading all of these up. And by the way, this takes time as well. Let me move this out of the way.
Yeah. Do it like if I weren't here.
Yeah. Would have been done. You have me nervous here.
Ah, man. I'll tell you, this is the stuff that people really enjoy seeing because
Yeah.
one, they learn and then they realize and they can understand and justify why certain things cost what they cost.
Well, a lot of people think that a panel is just throwing a bunch of cables on it, and that could be right to a certain extent. But when you take it to that level of, hey, I want all my wires to be the same exact length, and I want to crimp all the terminals in the exact same way, that just takes your panel to a whole next level.
Do you warranty any of your panels?
Everything that I do, so for example, if it's a toggle switch panel, it's going to be a 1-year warranty. If it's a blue water switch panel, I'll also provide a 1-year warranty. If it's a rocker switch panel, it's also going to be a 1-year warranty. You are having issues with your panel, if I made it for you, just give me a call. We'll try to make sure we make it we get it right for you. Todavía consume tiempo poner los switches. You want to turn it off.
That's no. So those are customers of yours that we're gonna have to call back,
Yeah.
regrettably, for the video.
We'll call them back.
All right.
So we're gonna do this.
So let's do the first 3.
Okay.
So we don't have to put them. I'm gonna go swap out a battery, guys. We're gonna continue here with this panel. Let me swap out this battery, and then we're gonna start the rigging aspect of them because I want them to see that part of it.
Okay.
Okay.
No problem.
Be right back, guys. All right, we're starting to crimp, guys. Okay, so let me show this. What's going on here? Tell me what's.
Basically, these are going to be the bridges that go from the breaker to each individual switch. So power goes in to your breakers, and then they go into its own breaker, power source in this case.
And the crimping is important.
Crimping is one of the most important things. It has to be a solid crimp, just as it is, as I showed you. Now we're gonna shrink it, make sure that it's all a sealed crimp.
And is there a particular crimp that you like for instance that actual crimp that you're using right now? What is it?
I'm using this one. This one I buy it at Ward's Marine. Ward's Electronics. They have these. They're pretty good. I've used Anchor as well. Anchors are really good. Which those I've purchased at West Marine.
So you like these particular ones?
Yeah. These are the ones that I like to use. And basically, now what we do.
And this is basically what keeps it waterproof, right?
Yeah.
Right. You don't want nothing going into your
water
life.
getting in there. You don't want any of that. So now we'll show you what we do. I'm gonna crimp one more just for giggles.
You forgot the chits and giggles.
Chits and giggles. And then
so you can be here hours.
Oh yes. So I do have a pneumatic crimper, which I do all this also with an actual pneumatic crimper. So it saves me the time of the crimping. However, usually what I do is I'll lay out all the wires.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put all the connectors on the wires, and then I go to town just crimping.
Okay.
Right, for the for the sake of this video, we're just doing it by hand, like how we would use it. We'll heat it up, but in that case, that's what we would do. You know, we make sure it's nice and sealed.
I see you're starting from the bottom up.
Yeah. I always do that because I don't like air bubbles being in the wiring. That is something that I also have learned. That you don't want to have air bubbles in the, in the heat shrink either. That air bubble creates condensation or humidity, and it's really hard to not get air bubbles in there, but it's not impossible. So I usually go from the bottom all the way to the top, up until I get all that air out.
Let me show them that. Yeah, that looks great.
So it's, So now what we do, So this wire, people are probably gonna think, oh, why did Andy put a bridge on that particular one? Is the nav wiring, you have to put a bridge and join both centers in my type of switch, and the switch that I'm using. There's some switches that are bridged inside already, so you don't have to do this. In my switches, since I already know that I have to bridge it, I'll do that, and then I'll actually go ahead and make a tiny little bridge from this side to this side. There's different ways. I know that there's people that are gonna say, oh, Andy, you could put it this way, you could put it that way. There's different ways on creating a setup. I already have a certain way that I do it. It's been working out. It's the best way that I think works for me. So, and then from there on, we just do the same thing on the other side, and you're gonna have something like that. Oh, actually, I should have heated that one up, huh? Bien nervioso.
I'm really not that famous, bro. I mean,
yeah.
Even though your dad was really excited when he got it, when you called him on the phone. Guys, his old man is in Puerto Rico, and he's a big fan of the Chit Show. So he was surprised when we called him on FaceTime. So big shout out to your old man.
Yeah. So now what we do is we keep on doing the same thing over and over. One thing that I always do, and this is just to show how I would wire this.
Okay.
Basically, all these wires are gonna take a zip tie, so it doesn't put the stress on the actual wire. And we all go the same direction all throughout. I'm gonna do two more just so you can kind of see this.
Okay.
How that looks like.
Okay, so the rigging part, I'm assuming this is where the stuff gets pricey.
This is where it gets interesting, because we could do something very, very basic, which is just leave you the wires hanging, or we could literally create you a whole entire rig, zip ties,
So
voice
basically,
connectors.
all you have to do is just basically hook up to that.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, the electrician who's going to do that install is going to be like, bro, I love this.
Yep.
This is the way to go.
Yep.
Because I think the time, like, I mean, when I film the boat shows, and for those that don't know, guys, I go to the boat shows and I film all these boats, and one of the things I like to feature is the electronics and the wiring, how it's worked, right? Because you see the level of detail. When you got cables all over the place where you don't know what's what, that could be a nightmare if you have an issue out in the water later, you know?
Oh yes.
So this is something that people really like to see.
Turn this off. I'm gonna use that now.
Okay, so this panel, 2025 price, just the contender panel that was bare without any switches, roughly, if you were to put it online on the market, what would that panel cost?
So that panel would be around, with the bend and everything, in today's world, with no rigging, no nothing, we're probably looking at around 300 to 350 ish, around there, depending on whether they want paint or they want just the engraving and all that. That's kind of where the price is at.
All right. And now when we start getting to the rigging and the switches, that's where things get a little bit more
correct.
pricey.
So that's when, you know, there a little bit more detail or a little bit more info is needed to where what type of switches they want. But it could go up from, you know, if you need a price, it could go up from $1,000 all the way to
the sky's the limit. Yeah. Based on what you do. I mean, you can have 50 switches on your thing.
Yeah, not only that, but a lot of the stuff that we're adding to it, it's $40, $50, right? So, for example, if they want something like this, they'll probably need, for this panel, they'll probably need 3 of them.
Yeah.
You know, little things like that, they keep adding up. And, of course, you know, all the ring terminals that go on there and all of that just keeps on piling up. And that's kind of where the prices, you know, I don't know if you noticed, both of my crimps, I always do this, they meet, they're the same, in the same side. So whenever I bend the cable, it's always gonna have the lettering either facing down or facing up.
Okay.
So usually, you know, if I rig the panel, because I've had people help me out and rig with me, but if I am rigging the panel.
And you'll know if you did that work.
Correct.
Because that's like a signature move that you do.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. So you can see here that the lettering is going up. And by the way, as progressively we start moving along the panel, it'll look ugly now, but once we finalize it and we add all these zip ties, and by the way, I have a process for it. I do all the wiring first and then I add my zip ties. I just wanted you to see.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna be here 4 hours.
Yeah, so
or 3 hours or whatnot.
What it
not
would look
nothing
like.
against what you're doing, but I just wanted them to see what the process is.
So
and you have everything shipped out that you already needed to ship out.
Correct.
Right? Because right now there's nothing locally. Okay, so we already established this. This is kind of like where to go. You'll cut it here.
I've seen a lot of people, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with it. I've seen a lot of people that they'll put 2 wires into one terminal, which, by the way, sky's the limit. You could put 2 wires in here if they're a lower gauge, but when you're actually using 12 gauge to power up a whole system, and you're actually putting 2 wires in here, you can do it. However, I think I've always had the belief that water or moisture would get in there, right? So, not that you should not do it. I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of buzz on this, but not that you shouldn't do it. However, the reason why Limitless Marine Customs don't do it, and I would rather use 2 terminals for it, is because of that. This wire goes bad, I could replace that wire if need be. I don't have to replace both of these wires. So, you know, I don't know if that makes any sense. I'll spend a little bit more, but I guarantee that the panel, that there's not going to be moisture in my wire, my actual wire, in my crimp.
What's the most common gauge that you're seeing that manufacturers are using for a lot of their electrical stuff?
Between 10, if it's panels like this, between 10 and 16 gauge.
Okay, you know, between 10 and 16. What would you say is the most common out of 10 to 16?
14 and 12.
14 and 12.
Yeah, which is mainly what I use as well.
What are we using on this panel right now?
This is 12 gauge for the main power. I would use 12 gauge is the one that goes into the main power, and then 14 gauge to every bridge.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, say somebody has a template or an old boat or something that they want to restore themselves.
Yeah.
How would they send you a template? With what, and how do you duplicate that template to give them maybe something they drew up with a piece of cardboard or a plastic paper?
Yeah.
How's
all
that
the
process?
options are, I could do all of that. So I have a
Chicho?
yes, we got to move all this.
Okay.
But we have a digitizing machine that, of course, if it's within the size that I have in here, we
Okay.
could just digitize it. We could show it to you in just a second if you want it. I just got to move this material, which I had removed to take the pink out for my daughter yesterday.
Okay. All right. So look, let me help you with that.
A little bit more precision. So this is basically.
I love this setup, by the way. This is just this is so wild.
Hold on.
All
So
right.
this is basically a template. And basically, we could show them this. Actually.
Yeah. Okay. So somebody sent you this.
Somebody sent me this in mail. It was folded. It doesn't matter. All the creases. We'll try to get it as straight as we can. Usually, you shouldn't make the line all the way to the edge. You always want it a 1/4 inch to 3/8 inside of where the white ends. I always say that. And then what we'll do is we'll actually trace it out. So let's say that you draw.
Let's give one of those other panels over there as an example. Maybe.
Yeah.
Can we just show them?
Of course.
I want them to visually see that, because sometimes you can say something and people don't understand what you mean.
So this is the panel. For
Okay. So
example.
this is what you have at home, guys.
This is what you have at home, and you put it on your piece of cardboard, and you traced it. Oh, I moved that actually. You say you traced it,
Okay.
you shipped it out to Limitless Marine, and you say, okay, we'll put it back there, and you'll say that this is where you have the key switch, and this is where your switches are. Let's say that that's what we want to replicate.
Okay.
You could even say, hey Andy, this is where I have my, in this case, C-Ray logo. C-Ray logo. You could say that as well.
All right. And then
So now what you do is,
what about the holes for the screws and stuff?
so those usually it's easier for you to re-drill at the house, but we can also add them in there. The thing is that usually they're smaller than this hole,
Okay.
so you could mark it or mark the center. Usually people, what they do is they'll put like an X like this, and I can mark the center, and I'll draw a tiny little hole right there, and then
Okay.
you finish drilling it.
Okay.
Or you tell me, hey Andy, I stripped 2 wires, just put the screws in a different spot, because you're also gonna send me some pictures.
Yeah.
And we'll make this live. And then when I get this, I'll actually trace it out for you. And this is just the way that kind of I draw it in my head. Holy smokes. Sorry guys. So this is what I would get. Now I come in and I say, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and trace this out for you. There's a software for that, nothing that I invented. There's something that actually comes for this. And I will go ahead and draw that line. I usually move this over here.
I think they're gonna smash that like button, because I don't think that they've ever seen this on the internet.
No?
I don't think so. I don't think anybody's given them this much.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and reset it, because we didn't. All right, so now we have it. So this is the software. Make sure that we're live. Hit start. We're gonna do a line. So we're gonna start here. We're gonna go here. Now we're gonna arc it out. So
You're a busy guy.
yes.
You know how busy you're gonna be after this video?
But that's a good thing. That's what I need. So we'll trace it out like that. Put a line in the center. Arc it out again. Go here and here. Here and here. Here, and then there. So basically now I have that. That's a rough sketch of what your panel will look like. Okay, it looks kind of blocked off or whatnot. And I'll say, hey, I'm gonna do a circle, and I'm gonna do it with 3 points. That's the same there, and I want to put it here. 1, 2, 3, and I'll hit continue. And now I could do that all the way around to have all those holes exactly where I want them. So now I know that that is the shape that is taking place. And again, this is kind of lopsided, that's why it didn't come out straight. However, we'll get it as straight as we can.
But for the video purpose, for them to understand how easy it could be done. Like literally they can take it off themselves, take everything off, strip their panel, it might be cracked or whatever, but they can do an outline and then ship you a piece of cardboard or a piece of paper. You know, with the way that your panel looks.
Correct.
And then you'll ship them back.
The entire panel.
The entire panel looking great.
The entire panel, and yeah, we'll get it out 100% for them. They need it rigged. They need it not rigged. We'll get it.
What's the final thing? Because we're going to be wrapping up this video.
Yeah.
I think we were able to get somebody that's far away that doesn't have. Listen, there's people that don't have access to people like in South Florida.
Correct.
There's not many of you people that do this.
Yeah.
There are a couple more, but in Nebraska, some guy that wants to hit a lake doesn't have as many options as we have here in Florida.
Correct.
So they need guys like you to help them. And they can probably put it all together, put it back together themselves, but they need to be able to get this stuff done. What else are they missing, or you think that they should know from the cutout of this panel that we started this main video to now? What do you think else they need to know?
There's really nothing. I mean, there's going to be a lot of back and forth between us and communication and the customer. There's going to be a lot of communication because we will not, of course, we will not send out a panel until you get a render. So basically, I would send you an image. If you want, I can show you how it would look of what they would be getting. Hey, this is what you want. Yes, no. It's basically an AutoCAD picture with your panel, everything, how it's going to look. And the size, dimensions, where you have the switches, and then we'll go ahead and make it for the customer. Pieces that we would need, or information that they would want to give ahead of time, would be, what is going to go on there, right? Because of course, if you give me this panel and you tell me, Andy, this is my panel, but you don't tell me that there's going to be switches here, you will not have switches on there. So it'll save me, it'll save everybody some time if you say, hey, just 19mm switches, 22mm switches, toggle switches, breakers, but I have this brand breaker. All of that information is essential.
So once they give you all that information, you can say, hey, I'll make this hole for big enough for that particular switch or whatnot.
Oh yes.
Okay, guys, I think we're ready to roll.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed a lot of this. Is there anything they should preventative put on this or not on this? And
I would avoid all types of acids.
Avoid
all types of acids. I would avoid. Doesn't matter if it's the safest or.
What about Corrosion X and stuff like that?
Corrosion X could go on there.
Because I've used Corrosion X on a lot of stuff.
Corrosion X will not harm it at all.
Okay, guys. Corrosion X. I'll probably put an affiliate link in the bottom here from Amazon or something. But it's something that I use to prevent corrosion, right?
So usually, if you want to clean them, there's plastic cleaners like this one.
Let me see this one.
I don't know if you want
to let's show them. Plexus, guys. I'll put it in the affiliate in the channel as well.
Yeah,
that's a good thing with YouTube now. Now I can actually just literally put a link. They can go directly to it and buy it from there.
Nice.
So they don't have to be on a mission.
And then I use this a lot to clean as well.
iMore Protective Cleaner. It's another one that we'll put it down there in the description or on the products page here on YouTube.
Yeah, those are two really, really good ones that have worked for me.
Okay.
And I always prefer the Plexus. It's just a little bit more money, but that's
how much does a can of this cost?
Right now, it's like $25 for a can of that.
$25, guys. Yeah. But you're gonna have the nicest plexiglass in the world.
Oh yes.
Wait for it.
Oh yes.
Hey, one last time, give them your number so they can call you.
Perfect. It's 305-972-0223. And we're here. Just give us your project and let's convert that let's make your boat pretty.
Wait for it, guys. Alfred Montaner making a scene as always. Don't forget to check out some of my merchandise. I know this hat triggers a lot of folks, guys, but I don't have many left. LuxuryRibTenders.com, and we'll see you guys there. Hey, Limitless Marine Customs on Instagram and TikTok.
On TikTok, yeah.
And then LimitlessMarineCustoms.com coming soon.
Coming soon, yes. LimitlessMarineCustoms.com coming soon. We're already started building the website, so as soon as it's ready, we'll have it in there.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. We're out of here.